Konami Studios.
So, Eternals issue 3, the critically loved, I think? Does everybody love this but me? Look, it's the Eternals. Y'all know my feelings on them by now. I don't care for the Eternals. They're not cool. They're not fun. They've never really been interesting. But I'm going to give credit to this book because it did something I really enjoyed. And that was tell a good story that I actually found to be compelling and worth talking about. I think the concept in this book about love and patronage and falling for something, it's really well presented. I thought it was very well done. I enjoyed it. My favorite issue of the run so far. I hope it keeps up this momentum because I might actually call this a good Eternals book. Surprising. So we open up, we are in the realm of the Deviants, and we are there with Thena, and she is just sleeping with one of the Deviant boys, and she is just like awakened by this noise outside, and she doesn't know what it is, but she's looking down, and we're getting some cool images here. Like, Asad Riddick's art looks really good. Compared to some of the other stuff, I think this just looks cleaner, more focused. I'm still not 100% in love with the art style. I know there's a specific type of people who are going to really enjoy what's being seen here, but in my opinion, all the faces look the same. They just look like slightly variated. But I guess you could say that's okay because, you know, Deviants and Eternals supposed to look the same or have a similar feel. Whatever, it works. So, you know, Thena just wakes up and she's attacked by Kingo. We're like, what are you doing here, man? Who else came with you to find me in this place with the Deviants? We see Cersei and Sprite show up, and basically they're just accusing her of killing Zuros, which makes sense. Like, why wouldn't they? Because, you know, they have like video footage, or they have some information of her 24 hours prior to the death of Zuros where she is talking to him. There was a disturbance. But the way that she sees it is that I talked to Zuros about my plans. You know, I said we don't work for the Celestials anymore, essentially, because, you know, they're dead. So I'm just going to go sleep with some deviant boy and fall in love again. That's my plan. I thought that was pretty cool. And as we're having this conversation, we see that she threatened the life of Zuros, but she didn't act upon that, so she doesn't know that Zuros is dead, which is kind of an interesting thing we were setting up. Thena is a very interesting character, in my opinion. I really like Cersei and Icarus. I think that they're like your two obvious leads. Kingo's going to have his audience once Kumal plays him in the movie. That's obvious to me. But Thena, I think, is going to be the surprise hit. It's Angelina Jolie in the movie. I think the way that they are kind of like setting up a Thena story in this book is going to have me indicate that Thena is going to play a big role in the movie, which I'm just like, do it. She's a very complex and interesting character because she's kind of just like so interested in trying these new and different ideas that she goes against the grain when it comes to what's expected from the Eternals. I think she's a very compelling character. Probably my favorite in this book so far. I just really fell for her story, and it's very compelling. So we go back to where we are in New York. Icarus is still hovering over the Robson house. The dad walks aside. He's like, what's going on? And it's just like, suddenly Icarus has been there like all day. It starts raining. People are just showing up taking pictures. Like, what are we supposed to do? Is there like somebody we should call if like a superhero is hovering over our house? Like, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do or say in that situation, but it starts to hail. But it's like really intense hail. So he's like, Toby, you should get inside before something happens. He uses his lasers to take out some of the hail. But the mom, whose name is Sophia, is just like, you know what? Quit hovering over like our lawn. Get in the damn house. We'll have some coffee or something. Like, you're starting to scare people. So they go inside, and basically it's just Icarus like, I don't know why I'm here. Something is telling me that Toby Robson is going to be responsible or involved in some certain thing. There's a threat to his life, and I am responsible. And that is what I'm doing here. I'm making sure nothing bad happens to the kid. They're like, that's great, but don't you think you being here is what's going to cause something bad to happen to the kid? And it's just like, well, maybe you're right. So the dad's like, well, should we take him to like a safe house in space or something? And Icarus is like, I don't have one of those, but maybe. They don't really know what it is. And I really like this line. There's like a couple pieces of line where, you know, Toby's like, what, are you just like some guardian angel or something? And I love the line from Icarus is like, I am Icarus of the Eternals. We are the Earth's guardian angels. Today, I am yours, Toby Robson. That is such a strong delivery. That is the kind of like deep science fiction stuff. I'm like, give me more of that, please. Just some weird philosophical bullshit. I love it so much. The family's like, What are we supposed to do? So we don't really figure out what we're doing with Toby. He's probably going to be connected to someone. I'm imagining Toby is going to be like maybe awakened as like a deviant or like an eternal or something connected. Maybe he's like part of a celestial thing. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. We cut back to our other group, and we see that Thena is now alerted, and she is seeing what happened to Zuros. And still there's that tension between like Cersei and Athena, which I kind of like. I love their tension. And it's pretty cool. We get like this flashback to an event that happened like 100,000 years ago. And it's basically the story as to why Cersei and Thena have their tension. And the idea is that Cersei is kind of pretending she's above everything that Thena is doing. So 100,000 years in the past, they are meeting for dinner. They're just talking. And then Cersei's like, well, I want to show you something. So why don't you come here? They're walking down this cavern. They go to this mysterious place where this deviant was. And this deviant has been experimenting on himself to make him last forever. And the idea comes into play here that it's these two people, the two most powerful women in the like the Eternals, and their thoughts on love in the entire idea of existence and love in that regard. So basically the idea is that Thena just like becomes madly in love with somebody, and as soon as like people start to dwindle from her life, it breaks her down and she can't stay with them, and then it affects her in that way. Whereas Cersei's like, I just act on my impulses. You know, I'm about like screwing. I'm going in there, I'm screwing, I'm not falling in love and breaking my heart. I'm acting on the impulse, not the idea of the romance, which is kind of like the difference between the two. I'm going to guess it's going to be a little different in the movie, but that's okay. I think that's a really cool thing to set up. Like, we live forever. You can't fall in love with somebody because then they're going to do shit like this. So we see that this deviant was trying to like experiment to make himself last forever so he could be with Thena forever, and it turned these like weird deviant creatures into like these destructive, like just decrepit bodies and zombies and shit. So Thena has to kill them. She kills her lover and she's like, I loved him. Like, I actually loved him, and it actually breaks her heart that she had to kill him. And she says to herself, I'm never gonna fall in love with deviant again. But she does, because in the present day, she is with this guy that she is now in love with, who's this deviant, and it's like, that's great. That's the kind of story I want to see from this. I like the heavy science fiction stuff. I don't know if it's been working 100% in this book so far, but this idea of love, how it's like you're living forever, you're like showing something that is like a goddess coming down to the mortal men, and they're going to become so obsessed with you, they're going to want to stay with you. Where Cersei's just like, yeah, I'm screwing, I'm doing this, doing that. Like, I'm acting, I'm not doing what you're doing. So those two have that tension still. And Thena's like, you know what? I did say I'd kill him, but I did not kill Zuros. So just shut up and quit blaming me for everything. Sprite's like, that's great. Welcome to the untrusty gang, because nobody here trusts us for some reason. We get a call from Druig, and it's like just specifically for Cersei, but she kind of like lies to Druig. So it's kind of setting up this idea that's easy for Cersei to lie. You're like, okay, I wonder what's going to happen with that. So we see that Druig has returned to Polaria, which is like the place of his father, the Supreme Valken, and everyone there has been slaughtered, making Druig the ruler of Polaria, whatever is left of it now. I wonder if this is going to be setting him up as the bad guy. Because I think he's the bad guy in the movie. I don't know, but I'm like, that's pretty cool. I get that. That's an interesting storyline to play with, an interesting development to take. So we see that Druig is going to be taking over Polaria, and that could have some really fun impact. Now, I'm not too familiar with every single piece of lore in the Eternals or everything, so Polaria didn't have like that impact on me when I heard the name, but I think it's cool. This issue is about as good as the rest, but I liked it just a little bit more because of the idea it represented about love as a goddess, and how like, you know, like you are an angel amongst men protecting the innocent. Like, there's some really cool themes in here that get like very like dark and interesting, and a great concept I'm very excited to explore more of when it comes to like the movie. I think this book was surprisingly well. I can't say it's my favorite book at Marvel, but I'm becoming more interested in what it's trying to say, so that's always a positive, I think. And I think a lot of people are going to read this Eternals book and be like, oh, this is what the movie's going to be? I can get behind this. Thena is going to be one to look out for. I guarantee her and Kingo are going to be the two breakaway stars from that movie. I think that's going to be really cool. Angelina Jolie, y'all. That's pretty sick. So that is my review of Eternals number 3, and I am going to give it a 7 out of 10. Now, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Have fun, stay safe, good luck.